came out the new update 32.5 in Melon Playground. And hello everyone, dear friends, on the channel Melonfonk, and in this video we with you will talk about the new update 32.5 in Melon Playground. Do not forget to subscribe and put a like. It is not hard for you, and it will be very pleasant for me. Well, and write in the comments what you think about the new update. Well then, I will not pull your time anymore. Pleasant viewing. Friends, we finally waited and came out the new update 32.5, and it turned out rather interesting, and by the way, with content of secrets and Easter eggs, about which I, of course, will tell at the end of the video, so watch the video to the end. Well, and the first, what was added in Melon Playground, now it is possible in the workshop to combine your mods into sets. Suppose if you have a pack of characters like I have. By the way, find my shop in the workshop and download there my mods, then you can combine them into sets and thereby promote your content. Very convenient, and in fact for modders a very useful thing. Now to earn on mods, it will be possible even more melons. A small but in fact very useful update. Let's move to the next edition, now added new mixing effects, but I would not call this a full edition, this is rather a fix of what already is in the game. And the new effects are nice, however some kind of essential changes I honestly did not notice. Yes, something changed, but globally as if it does not strongly influence the game and does not strongly influence the gameplay. So this is simply a small addition, as for me. The next, what was added, this is a new probe for liquids. This is a device which measures what is inside this or that NPC. Your task is to pierce any of the NPC, and in essence, on the screen of the device will be displayed the value which is contained in the character. And in fact, the standard value of juice content in any of the NPC is 83%. As for me, this is very strange, but for some reason it is so. I think that this is in fact a relatively useless device, a relatively useless mechanism, because of them such very many, and it seems to me, demand absolutely will not be. Although very interesting to know your opinion about this. Write necessarily in the comments. Will you use this or most likely simply try and forget, like many items which already are in the game? The next, what was added in Melon Playground. This is also a scanner for liquids, in essence the same probe, only by another principle of work. This you have a beam which remotely determines this or that liquid. The most interesting, that in essence they have the same principle of work with the probe, only the scanner globally has more possibilities. Then arises the question, why in general is needed the probe, if in essence the scanner performs the same function? For me, this also remains a mystery. As for me, the scanner is much more convenient, and at the same time it determines absolutely all items. And not only NPC, this can even be syringes, various bottles, and so on. In general, the scanner really is a good item, but the probe for me is rather strange and honestly even unnecessary. What do you think about this? Necessarily write in the comments. The next, what was added, this is a new mechanism mempump. In essence also already there is something similar in the game, but I do not know how much in general people will use this. As it seems to me, this is simply another mechanism, another addition, which simply all will try. However, in the future really will be very rarely used. I, of course, want to be mistaken. Maybe this is some super useful mechanism, but necessarily write in the comments what you think about this. Maybe. I, in general, am not right. The next addition, this is a new leaf blower. In general, this is a thing which blows leaves. Typical seasonal addition. In general. Okay, but again, as for me, this is maximally useless item. Its task simply to blow leaves. Well, I don't know. This is very strange, honestly. At the same time, the flow of wind in general in no way can be regulated, and it is rather weak, I do not know, for whom are created such additions, but they exist and let them be. What do you think about this, of course, write in the comments? Also added new safe zones for owners of iPhone and for all smartphones who have notches. Now you will not have taken some visual space on the sides, also useful, but I would not say that this is some separate addition, this is simply another fix, which in general simply even should not be paid attention. The next, what was added, this is a new visual connection between the interface and NPC. When, in general, you shift the interface, then you have appearing such invisible as if line, which in fact is visible and it creates as if a connection, so that you understand That exactly to this NPC belongs this interface. Maybe this is convenient, especially for those who create mods, for those who create various constructions, in order simply banally not to get confused. Also added new, more precisely, changed the shifting of the interface. Now, when it appears, then it, firstly, is smaller and takes up less space and takes up less place. It now is more convenient to shift to the side in order to work with constructions and in order to work with mods and NPC. The next addition, or more precisely change. Now in the map editor, they changed the acid block. It can be endlessly many placed on the map. Pay your attention right now to the screen. If earlier we could place only one acid block on the map, then now they can be placed simply an endless multitude, and thereby I right now created some kind of visual illusion, and I think that for someone this will be very useful, especially for those who love acid maps, to create some traps and so on. I think that this is quite a useful mechanic, and I think that the developers should have done this much earlier. But since I not especially create many maps, then, in essence for me, this addition as if will pass by me. I'm more moved by arcade things, therefore I am not a modder. And I think that especially for those who create many mods, this will be very useful. But for such like me, for typical arcade players, to us give various secrets, Easter eggs, storylines, and so on, so that we sniff some kind of fear. What you think about this, of course, write in the comments. And at the same time, this is still not all changes and additions. They added a new mechanic of spreading of fire, and this is really, in fact, a very essential change, which pleasantly gladdened me and pleasantly surprised me. Right now, pay your attention to the screen. Now, when fire spreads on blocks, on wood, then it has a completely different texture, it has different logic. And this completely differently works. Also, they changed the audio accompaniment. We hear even some kind of crackling. In general, really, it became much better and became much more atmospheric. And for this to the developers, a huge it became much cooler and more pleasant. It remains to modify the texture of fire, because as for me, it is slightly as if rough. Simply as for me, I would add slightly quality, so that it would be more realistic. It is like some kind of orange cotton, but at the same time, the mechanic itself and the logic itself of this fire works quite evenly without any problems, and how good. At the same time, the additions and changes did not end. At the beginning of the video, I warned you that they added a new Easter egg and a new secret. So then, they added a new 38th achievement. For now, I will not tell you what this achievement is, but believe me, everything is very interesting. Your guess is right necessarily in the comments, and we necessarily will analyze in future videos separately the new Easter egg in Melon Playground. And believe me, it deserves your attention.